Two GOP senators just issued a quiet warning to Donald Trump, and he should be scared. For that matter, so should every American. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. NATO. It's become one of the biggest buzzwords of the second Trump era. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization has been a cornerstone of American prosperity and global hegemony in the 80 years since World War II. Established in 1949 as a firewall against Soviet aggression, it has since become the most important alliance in human history and helped make the United States into a world superpower. So naturally, Donald Trump wants to get rid of it. Why keep anything that actually does any good for the country, right? Yay, disruption. And granted, Trump and his deputies had assured voters that the administration would never pull out of NATO while on the campaign trail. Here's what Vice President J.D. Vance said in an interview.
Let me ask you, because there are real concerns about Vladimir Putin invading NATO allies. Under a Trump-Vance administration, can you pledge sitting here today that the U.S. will continue to remain a member of NATO?
Of course, we're going to honor our NATO commitments, but I think it's important, Kristen, that we recognize that NATO is not just a welfare client. It should be a real alliance. And this is a strong difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants NATO to be strong. He wants us to remain in NATO, but he also wants NATO countries to actually carry their share of the defense burden. Under Kamala Harris's leadership, we've actually seen how weak NATO is as a full-scale military alliance. It's effectively the United Kingdom, a couple of other nations, and the United States. NATO's problem is, particularly Germany, has to spend more on security, has to spend more on defense. We can't be the policeman of the world. We want NATO to be an alliance, not just a dependent of the United States.
NATO has been unified in defending Ukraine. Just to be very clear, though, you would stay in NATO. Just a yes?
We would stay in NATO, Kristen, but this...
By the way, European members of NATO already pay a hefty sum for membership. Most countries, with a few tiny exceptions, pay 2% of their GDP to fund the alliance. But why would J.D. Vance know that? It didn't take long for Trump, upon returning to Washington, to renege on that campaign promise. Take a look.
You're not going to pay, we're not going to defend. I said that 7 years ago. And because of that, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, if you're not going to pay your bills, we're not going to defend you.
Are you going to make that policy, U.S. policy, that the U.S. wouldn't defend NATO countries that don't pay?
Well, I think it's common sense, right? If they don't pay, I'm not going to defend them. No, I'm not going to defend them. I got into a lot of heat when I said that. You said, oh, he's violating NATO. And, you know, the biggest problem I have with NATO, I really, I know the guys very well. They're friends of mine. But if the United States was in trouble and we called them, we said, we got a problem, France, we got a problem, a couple of others I won't mention. Do you think they're going to come and protect us? They're supposed to. I'm not so sure.
You know, if these doofuses had any basic understanding of world order, they would not be issuing mixed signals like this or discounting the importance of NATO nations to defend one another. Hence, two GOP senators are seething. More on that in a moment. But then again, you probably already knew that Trump has ulterior motives here, namely his secret lover, Vladimir Putin. We've discussed this subject at length here on the channel before, so we refer you to our other videos for more details. The short version? Putin likely has blackmail information on Trump, hence Trump's believing Putin over U.S. intelligence officials and siding with him against our allies and American interests. Look, any rational person should be spooked at the idea of Trump allying with Russia or leaving NATO. That's why two GOP senators have issued a quiet but harsh rebuke of Trump and his policies regarding NATO. Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Roger Wicker, a Republican of Mississippi, and House Armed Services Committee Chairman Mike Rogers, Republican of Alabama, issued a joint press release to the Armed Services Committee website last night. In it, they issued a warning to Trump that NATO must be preserved at all costs. U.S. combatant commands are the tip of the American warfighting spear, they wrote. Therefore, we are very concerned about reports that claim Department of Defense is considering unilateral changes on major strategic issues, including significant reductions to U.S. forces stationed abroad, absent coordination with the White House and Congress. We support President Trump's efforts to ensure our allies and partners increase their contributions to strengthen our alliance structure, and we support continuing America's leadership abroad. As such, We will not accept significant changes to our warfighting structure that are made without a rigorous interagency process, coordination with combatant commanders and the Joint Staff, and collaboration with Congress. Such moves risk undermining American deterrence around the globe and detracting from our negotiating positions with America's adversaries. That might seem like a tame statement, and to some degree it is. But given how few Republicans are willing to criticize Trump right now, even when he dismantles our government, even when he lets noted druggie Elon Musk have domain over our institutions, even in the face of protests from their constituents, given that the GOP has lost its collective nerve, this statement is still important. And once again, this flirtation with destroying NATO is about one thing: Trump's love for Putin. I hear they love swapping nude massages with one another. Go figure. In all seriousness, Putin desperately wants control of Ukraine and its resources, hence the ongoing war there, and hence Trump's eagerness to attack Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and to cede territory to Russia to end the war. Putin is terrified of Ukraine joining NATO and how that will contain Russian influence. In Putin's mind, if he controls Ukrainian resources, Russia can become a superpower again. That may or may not be true in the long run, but uncertainty won't stop Putin on this front. Here's hoping that this statement from Rogers and Wicker marks the point where the GOP holds Trump to account. If Russia wins, all of the free world loses. I'm David Reddish.